Hi guys, Danielle here from gettestobsessed.com, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is what is the best book to buy for TOEFL prep? While it's a very simple question, the answer is not quite as straightforward. I do have a series of videos where I go through all of the positives and some of the drawbacks of some of the most popular TOEFL prep books that are out on the market right now. But in today's video, what I want to do is cover the 7 most important qualities you should look for before buying your next TOEFL prep book. So criteria number 1 is timeline. If you plan on taking the TOEFL 2 years from now, you should have a very different idea of what book will serve you best than if your TOEFL test is scheduled for 2 weeks from now. So as you look through your potential TOEFL test prep books, think about exactly how much time stands between you and the test ideally. If you are looking at length alone and you're considering a book that is 400 pages in length, but you've only got 1 week till the TOEFL, it's probably not the best fit for you. So before anything else, consider the timeline that you have when studying for the test. Now, I know I don't have to tell you before you purchase something that you should consider the price. I know that that is pretty straightforward and something that you've probably already considered. But when thinking about the price, don't just think about price alone. As you're scrolling through Amazon, notice the price to page ratio that you are paying for. When you're not looking at physical copies of the book, this could be really easy to overlook. So especially if you're purchasing it online, consider how many pages and what the pages are full of, especially if you're given that preview option. Don't let price hold you back. If you are thinking that maybe you want to opt for a book that is a little bit more expensive, but you don't really feel like you can make that happen right now, your public library probably has plenty of these books. So if you take a look over here, I've navigated to the New York Public Library website. I clicked on search the catalog, just typed in TOEFL, and as you can see, there are plenty of search results here, so that way you can get the exact book that you're looking for. So when it comes to price, consider how to get it for free, but also think about the fact that if you are purchasing it, don't just look at the bottom line, think about the price to page ratio. A criteria that many people forget when it comes to selecting their TOEFL book, because it is specific to the TOEFL, is the number of and the quality of full-length practice tests. Now, what might happen is that you're going through a practice book and it comes with a diagnostic test at the beginning. The question becomes, is it a full-length practice test or not? A full-length practice test for the TOEFL should go over all 4 sections of the exam, and it should give you the amount of practice in each of those 4 sections that would come out to that 4-hour-long real exam. The other thing you want to consider when it comes to the practice tests is not just how many, but how well those practice tests represent the TOEFL. I can't tell you how many of the tests have questions that are not quite what they look like when it comes to actual test day. It might be that the passages they're giving you are too easy, or it might be that the questions aren't actually set up in the same way that the TOEFL sets them up. So be particularly careful about that. The best way to figure out if you have an accurate sense of how well the practice material matches the actual test is to look at those customer reviews. People tend to be very honest when it comes to how easy or difficult the book is and whether or not it's a good representation of the TOEFL. So just make sure you do your research before you hit that purchase button. That brings us to criteria number 5, the number of sections of the TOEFL that are covered in that particular book. Now, some books will go over all four sections of the TOEFL, and that might be what you're looking for, a broad overview. This can be beneficial for a lot of students. But if you're on a shorter timeline and you realize that you really just need to pick up your reading score or just your writing score and nothing else, consider buying a book that is section focused. So it would say right on the front cover, TOEFL preparation reading or TOEFL preparation writing. It might even be more specific than that, TOEFL preparation independent essay writing. So if you are looking to get a book that is focused on only one area that you want to improve, that might be your best bet because it's going to be a deeper dive and give you more practice on just what you need and nothing you don't. That brings us to number 6, which is the amount of instruction provided. One of the best books that I always find myself recommending is obviously the official guidebook. It's made by the people who make the actual test, so of course the quality of the questions is much better than most of the other material that's out there. However, while the practice is good, the amount of instruction provided is often lacking. So if you know that you are going to be using the book for how you get your strategies for the TOEFL, consider that before you purchase. You want to think about how much practice you need as well as how much instruction you need when determining if a book is a good fit for you. The last thing that you want to consider is how your book will fit into your already existing test prep plan. If you've decided to allot for 2.5 hours of TOEFL test prep study each day between now and the TOEFL when you take it in a month, but you know out of those 2.5 hours you're working one-on-one with a tutor or you're taking some sort of class, maybe you want to structure the time that you spend with a book in a particular way. Maybe because you're getting the instruction somewhere else, all you need is practice tests. So before you buy a book and let that dictate your test prep plan, think about your test prep plan first and buy a book that fits into it. Now, I can't let you go without a bonus tip about what criteria you should look for when it comes to buying your best test prep book for you. My bonus tip is regarding those extras. Does your book come with a CD or any sort of software that you can download so that way you can do your practice online? It is best to do your TOEFL practice on a computer, getting comfortable with the screen. I know students are familiar with and love books, and that's why they have taken diligent notes, they highlight all through it, and then they become really disappointed because their reading scores tend to be a little bit lower when they do the practice on the computer rather than just on paper. You want to make sure that the practice is as realistic as possible. So I would say if you're opting between a book that comes with practice on the computer versus just on paper, I would pay a little bit more to get the stuff that's on the computer and computer based, because as long as the material is on par, that is going to give you the best type of practice. And that is it. These are the 7, really 8 pieces of criteria I would use when evaluating any TOEFL test prep book. If you want more specifics, go ahead and listen to the rest of the playlist where I review some of the most popular TOEFL books. Don't worry, I'll tell you all the good and all the bad from each of these books as I've personally used them in my classroom and one-on-one tutoring situations. So go ahead and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And for free TOEFL test prep practice when it comes to vocabulary, idioms, and all of those types of things that might come up on the TOEFL, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at GetTestObsessed. See you again soon.